Good evening, everyone. We're going to call the meeting to order at 5:05. Dinah, could you take the roll call, please?
Board Member Van Landingham. Board Member Cluth.
Present.
Board Member Bove LaMonica. Vice President Clerk Barrow.
Present.
President Cole.
Present.
All present.
Thank you. Any public comments, communications regarding closed session? I don't see anyone in the audience tonight. Dinah, is there anything in the? Okay, great. I'll just make this comment. All public comments from the audience to the board for items on closed session to the people that are not here. Members of the audience may address the board regarding closed session agenda items. Comments from visitors shall not exceed 3 minutes unless waived by a majority of all members of the board. And we will adjourn then to closed session. will call the meeting to order. It's 6:03. Dinah, can you take the roll for us, please?
Board Member Van Landingham. Board Member Cluth.
Present.
Board Member Bove LaMonica. Vice President Clerk Barrow.
Present.
President Cole.
Present.
All present.
Thank you, Dinah. If everyone, there is no report out from closed session, so if everyone can just join us in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then can I get anyone to approve the agenda, please?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Maggie.
Second.
Thank you, Rachel. All in favor?
Aye.
Before we do our announcements, we just wanted to take a minute and stop and thank our lovely assistant Dinah, who is moving on. And we just wanted to, as a board, just say thank you so much for your dedication to Hermosa, to us, to the superintendent prior, and to Susan. And we know how much you have done for this district and for us all the time. And you are so behind the scenes, and we will miss you terribly. And you are a great party planner. And so they are getting a really great party planner person. And they are lucky to have you. So we are very happy for you, sad to see you go. But I know we have a wonderful new person that is going to replace you, but no one really will replace you. You do a great job. So I'm excited for you and your family, and we will miss you. And we have a little something that we all have kind of contributed to give you a little present here.
We're sad.
Oh, well, you helped us a lot, so thank you so much. All right, moving on. Hard to move on from that, but thank you all for being here. And I see my neighbor Kelsey is in the audience tonight, so I'm very happy to have the Hermosa Beach, Hermosa Valley Student Council come on up. Even if you're not Kelsey, you can come on up too.
Hi everyone, I am Noah, Valley's ASB president. We're excited again to be here tonight and update you on what has been happening at Valley. Dr. Buddy Clemens is making moves with the HVS band. 5th grade beginning band students had the opportunity to use a band instrument, petting zoo, to try out different instruments to help them decide which band instrument that they might be best suited for. All band students, including 5th grade beginning band, intermediate symphonic band, and advanced concert band, are all using a phenomenal web-based program called makeamusic.com, which is a virtual practice assistant to track practice and enhance the music learning experience. The Hermosa Valley Multipurpose Room stage has been transformed into the new band room, providing them with the opportunity to rehearse where they will eventually perform. The band students recently were provided with new chairs specifically designed to promote optimum sitting posture for use by musicians.
Hi everyone, I'm Anha Kang, Valley Student Council member. In Senora Enfusino's 8th grade Spanish B class, students have completed their first pen pal letter to the students in Laredo, Mexico. Liz Ramirez, a retired educator of the South Bay, ex-president of Hermosa Beach/Laredo Exchange Program, and current resident of Laredo, is delivering them this month. We hope to get the letters back soon. Our public speaking and debate students are preparing for their second formal speech, a persuasive speech that requires research, the incorporation of the rhetorical devices of ethos, pathos, and logos, and a call to action. In Ms. Brown's personal finance class, students continue to make investments and follow the stock market. Students presented personalized projects about their financial decisions given a fake salary. They are now starting their business unit.
Hi everyone, I'm Talia Saracino, Valley Student Council member, 6th grade vice president. In Ms. Gonzalez's leadership class, students have been exploring what it means to be a great leader by developing a growth mindset and recognizing that mistakes are opportunities for learning and growth. They've reflected on the power of positive self-talk and habits that make a strong leader. Currently, they are focusing on teamwork and discovering what it takes to be a positive contributing team member. In Idea Lab 5, students are building and programming Jimu robots for sumo battles, designing marble roller coasters, and creating 3D printed keychains using Tinkercad. PLTW 6 students have explored design through spaghetti towers and catapult competitions, completing a music montage with voiceovers, and are now designing 3D printed fidget spinners. STEAM 7 students are finished an app project and a mini golf unit with moving parts and scorecards, and are currently filming and editing music videos. STEAM 8 students completed a sport team rebrand, developed a tech-themed website, created a grid self-portrait, and are now coding a JavaScript animations of themselves.
Hi everyone, I am Arya Kavlikar, Valley Student Council member. In yearbook with Miss Ripley, students are working on photo projects to build skills in photography, composition, and lighting. We will take a walking field trip to the Hermosa Beach Pier on Thursday to take photos in the community. In art, 6th graders are learning facial proportions and drawing their own features from observation. Art 7 students are working on their eye project after practicing colored pencil techniques. Art 8 students are learning how to create a still life composition.
Hi everyone, I am Kelsey Kettler, Valley Student Council member. Hermosa Valley's first ever Math Olympiad team has begun practices with Ben Lewis and Miss Brown. They are busy learning how to solve problems that require creativity, persistence, and strategy. Students are learning how to approach complex tasks, break them down into manageable steps, and explore multiple strategies to find solutions. Science Olympiad has also begun practices and will continue to practice before their first science competition. Model UN Club is up and running. High school students in the Miracosta program come every week in order to prepare students for being one of the best diligents. Students are working on improving public speaking skills and preparing for high school.
Hi everyone, I'm Mia Ricevito, Valley Student Council member. In honor of our participation in the United Against Hate campaign, Hermosa Valley students participated in a powerful digital citizenship and literacy assembly presented by Digital for Good #ICanHelp. Students and staff participated in interactive activities managing online conflicts, AI misuse, and other digital challenges. HVS Athletes is busy competing in their fall season. Practices and games are happening weekly for our fall sports teams, both home and away. All teams are undefeated. Let's go Valley. Thank you again for allowing our student councils to share what is happening at Valley. We look forward to sharing more information with you next month.
Great job, everyone. Thank you. It sounds very busy. And I just wanted to get clarification. I did have one question about the petting zoo with instruments. It's just as like you can go and try any instrument. Do you know? Does anyone here know? That's funny. That's funny. Tell us,
Yeah.
Kelsey. I just love that. It's such a good idea.
According to Dr. Clemens, sometimes you pick the instrument and sometimes the instrument picks you.
I do know that.
You don't know this until you pick it up, pet it,
The
play it with
oboe was
it.
just
Yeah.
the thing, or the bassoon. You never know.
You gotta feel your way into the instrument.
If you haven't gone to see a music performance in Hermosa yet, and your parents here, you totally should go. He's incredible. If you're gonna have like an incredible music experience, and we do have Miss Brown in the audience, and she is also an incredible math teacher. So lucky that your students get to go through her class as well. So thank you all for being here. We're gonna move on to 7.2, a local indicator update for Priority 1, teaching assignment monitoring outcome, data release. Not as exciting as student council, but Ms. Gluck.
Local indicators must be shared as a non-consent item at the same meeting in which the governing board approves the LCAP. The 23-24 teacher assignment monitoring outcome data which is part of Priority 1 local indicator, was unavailable at that meeting. School districts are required to report the 23-24 teacher assignment monitoring outcome data to the governing board upon its release in a manner consistent with other local indicators. The California Department of Education released the 23-24 teacher assignment monitoring data file on September 24th, 2025. The district had one teacher out of assignment, meaning the teacher had a credential but was missing their English learner permit.
Thank you, Ms. Gluck. Moving on to public comments, and I see Emery has one, but I'll read this announcement ahead of time. Public comments from the audience to the board in person. Members of the audience, Emery, being you, may address the board on any topic regardless of whether it is listed on the agenda. However, the board may not discuss issues raised that are not listed on the agenda. Topics not on the agenda that are brought to the board's attention may be investigated by the administration and a report made to the board either publicly or privately at a future meeting. Comments from visitors shall not exceed 3 minutes per individual speaker unless waived by a majority of all members of the board. Welcome, Emery. As always, we are happy to see you.
Likewise. Good evening, Board President Cole, board members, Dr. Wilds, executive team and community members. Emery Chen, Director of Wellbeing Services at Beach Cities Health District. I'm proud to announce that this year marks the 70th anniversary of Beach Cities Health District serving the cities and communities of Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach, and Manhattan Beach. In order to appropriately, celebrate and acknowledge this landmark year, I think it's only fitting that I came here to thank the district, for our partnership, our ability to collaborate together, at least in the 5 years I've been with the district, has been quite notable, and it's allowed us to sustain true impact for our community's students, our families, and the broader adult community. And so a summary of our accomplishments with the district along with the neighboring school districts are kind of summarized in the school district health report that I've provided you. So in your leisure, please flip through it. It's kind of like a little bit of compilation of our greatest hits together. Again, could not have done it without our work together. And, special shout out again to Sylvia Gluck, who I have access to on a monthly basis, and we get things done. And so thank you for allowing us her time. I do want to take a moment to highlight the fact that this new fiscal year presents an opportunity for me to not only formally change my title, but I am now the Director of Wellbeing Services. In the last 4 or 5 years, I've been the Director of Youth Services. And so that's giving us an opportunity to restructure our programming across the lifespans for Beach Cities residents while still maintaining a commitment to empowering our community through wellness and care. My particular department still, while these changes are occurring, is committed to prevention and kind of focusing on mental health and substance use as well as physical health. We know that Alcove Beach Cities is now celebrating its 3rd year. Hard to believe that November comes around. So what this does is it gives my time an opportunity to kind of shift towards our younger ages, and so we're really thinking about focusing on 0 to 11. And in doing so with that younger age, we have to think about the adults in these young people's lives. And so this includes our parents and also our education workforce. And so my new department will kind of bookend Alcove, but still continuous and seamless. And so we really look forward to kind of innovating new programming as we know that there's higher parental stress, teacher burnout, that we're in the middle of a loneliness epidemic. And so we want to work with the district to continue to kind of fill those gaps. And so look forward to having another successful year with you, and so thank you again for your partnership.
Thank you so much, Emery. Anybody have any questions before he heads out? We appreciate all the work that you do with us, and I think all of us would be willing to also do any sort of brainstorming with you if you want that help as well. And we appreciate Ms. Gluck always being on the forefront of that for us. But yeah, thank you. Have a good night. All right, moving on to public hearing number 9.1, open public hearing. We're going to open the public hearing regarding the statement of assurance for the pupil textbook and instructional materials incentive program. hearing is open.
The board will hold a public.
Anyone have any questions? Do you need to make any announcement about that?
Nope, you just need to take a vote to open, no public comments, and take a vote to close.
Okay, can I get a motion?
Move to open.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Second. Thank you, Maggie. All in favor of opening? Aye. Okay, and then we're closing it at the end. Okay, 9.2, hearing on resolution number 425/26, statement of assurances for the pupil textbook instruction materials incentive program. Ms. Gluck.
The board will hold a public hearing on the adoption of Resolution 425-26, Statement of Assurance for Pupil Textbook and Instructional Material and Incentive Program, grades K through 8, fiscal year 25-26. Public comments are requested at this time.
So what it's important to note that this is the Williams Act, and so this resolution is assuring that every student in the Hermosa Beach City School District has access to core materials in all subject areas. That includes technology and Chromebooks for our upper grades.
Does it, just out of curiosity, does it always include Chromebooks? And
It's been a newer.
that's in addition to the Williams Act?
Yeah. As times have evolved over the last, especially post-pandemic.
Okay.
The Chromebooks are considered part of the instructional materials.
Great, thank you for that clarification. Can I move on, or do I have to take a motion to approve that?
You just have to take a vote to close it.
No, so I just can move on to 9.3? Okay, we're going to move on to 9.3. We're going to close the public hearing.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. All right, moving on. Public hearing is closed. Bye-bye. Number 10. Board member reports. Do I have any board member reports?
Yes, the Wellness Committee. Go ahead. The Wellness Committee met last week and still working on revamping, revitalizing, reforming the wellness plan for the district, and Susan has everything. Dr. Wilds has everything divided up, and folks are progressing, and we also reinstituted, I think is a good word, the body shaming subcommittee with a new chart with a larger mandate.
Great, thank you. Maggie?
Yeah, the South Bay Community Coalition Against Hate is gearing up for its United Against Hate Week, which is October 19th. I'm really excited that the district is participating with the events that they've posted this week. There is across the board actions for people to participate, starting with Yoga for Unity, sponsored by Beach City's Health Districts, 6 p.m. on Monday the 19th. And then there is a whole list of events that are published to the website, and I'll make sure that the district has that information and pushes it out. Candlelight vigils, peaceful celebrations, different districts are doing events within their communities, so really excited for the participation.
Great. Thank you. No. Okay. All right, moving on to 11, reports to the board and discussion. 11.1, Mr. Alan Rising, a construction delivery model.
Good evening, Madam President, board members. I'm here today to talk to you about the very exciting topic of project delivery methods tonight. And as we get started, I'll take a moment to apologize in advance. I have a little frog in my throat, so I may have to stop and take a drink or a small cough, and I apologize. I don't know if we have a, yes, we do. Great, thank you very much. So project delivery methods, and tonight's agenda we'll be presenting to the board options for lease-back and some proposals and resolutions about moving forward with some of our construction delivery methods. And I wanted to take a moment to really explain the world of construction delivery methods. There's a whole wide range of options for the board and for the district to take in moving projects forward. All of that have various different advantages and disadvantages. I routinely tell folks that there's no one perfect delivery method, and it's really up to individuals that really understand the desires of the district and the needs of the project to determine what's the best delivery method moving forward for each individual project. Today I wanted to give you a quick overview of those delivery methods just so you can kind of understand where they come from. I'll be coming at you pretty fast with this stuff, so if you have a question, please stop me and ask the questions. But I did want to get through it pretty quickly so that we can have a little bit of a conversation about leasebacks at the very end. So I always like to start with maybe I should turn that on. There we go. I like to, first of all, a disclaimer. I'm not legal counsel, but I have many, many years, almost 4 decades of working in this field and working with each one of these delivery models many, many times over. And so it comes to you just from my experience, not necessarily as legal counsel. So we will be using legal counsel as we move forward to make sure that we guide the district appropriately through all the various different regulations and requirements. I like to start with the concept of just universal contracting rules, right? There's a universal rule that exists in our industry and basically says everything must be bid. Everything we need to do needs to take it out to the streets and bid it in an open market to get the best price for our students and our communities. That's the general rule, except, and we're going to talk a little bit today about some of those exceptions that exist in the law and in the public contract code that allow us to look for better ways and more ways that allow the district to have some flexibility in how they move forward to ensure that we get the best results for our community. Those universal contracting rules start with our bid limits. This is per the public contract code. The district is free to award contracts, negotiated agreements, they call them, with vendors for up to $114,800. These are just negotiated contracts. We pick up the phone and we call a plumbing supply house and we buy products all the way up to $114,800, and that doesn't require us to go out to bid. We can issue those, that's either in service contracts and other things, for the purchase of equipment, materials, and supplies, for what are called non-construction services, and this is where it gets a little inky and cloudy in the law, and for repairs, including maintenance services as defined in the public contract code, that are not considered to be public projects per public contract code 2202. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about what does that mean. There's a requirement for formal bidding in our state. For school districts must formally bid all public contracts, including purchase orders for services, equipment, materials, and supplies that exceed the $114,800 threshold, or any public project that exceeds $15,000. Quite a disparity there in the number, right? $114,000 versus $15,000. And don't ask me why. We've tried for years to get the legislature to change that, but we just don't seem to be able to get some traction there. Public projects are specifically defined as construction, reconstruction, erection, alteration, renovation, improvements, demolition, and painting, but does not include maintenance work. And trust me, there's a lot of cloudiness there in what does that mean and how do you define that as you move forward. When we talk about formal bids, there's a very specific connotation to that we're all pretty much familiar with. It's called design, bid, build, or in the industry, we call it hard bidding it. This is where we put a bid on the streets, they give us a price, we award a contract, we have a one-to-one relationship with the contractor and a district as we move forward. Typically, that traditional method involves the district hiring some form of an architect or a designer or someone of knowledge of the project to come up with plans and specifications. We use those plans and specifications to solicit bids. If those plans require the approval of the state, per the Division of State Architects rules, we get approval from the DSA prior to soliciting those bids. Those bids are openly they're solicited, they're opened in public. It's a very formal process. And we award the agreement to the contractor who provides us the lowest responsible and responsive bid. Those are two different concepts. Responsible meaning that the contractor themselves do not have anything that precludes them to work for the district. They've done something wrong, they've been banned, they've been barred, those type of things. Responsive means that they follow the requirements of the bid. Did they put in all the necessary forms? Did they have all the requirements, the licenses and the insurances and all of that kind of stuff? So we check all of those to make sure that the contractor is both responsible and responsive to what we ask them to do. And then the district awards the contract to that lowest bid. There are some challenges to that I'll talk about in just a moment. This is what that relationship looks like. Again, the district has an architect that they have a direct relationship with. They also have a construction manager, the person who's actually helping them to make sure that everything goes smoothly with that contractor. They have a single relationship with the contractor, and then the contractor themselves has relationships with each one of those subcontractors. Pretty traditional environment. We're all pretty well comfortable with that. There are some pros. Pros are it's a very traditional method. Everybody understands it. It's pretty easy. It's pretty cut and dried on how to do it. There's a lot of legal familiarity to it. You typically get a very competitive bid at the beginning. I always say that underline at the beginning, and it's pretty simple. There are some limitations to it. Number one is there's very limited collaboration between the district and the contractor. In fact, the laws specifically preclude us from collaborating with contractors in order to ensure that there's transparency in all of the work. So the contractor has very little time to actually look at these plans and specifications to be able to provide that bid to the district. There's a potential for that adversarial relationship. So if the contractor doesn't have a lot of time to work through these plans and specifications, their job now is to come back with these beautiful things we call change orders to be able to make up for those things that they didn't include in their bid. There's a much higher risk for those change orders. Remember this contractor may have only had just a few weeks to look over these bids, and sometimes we have those contractors that specialize in looking for change orders, looking for opportunities to be able to get their money. Remember, all of those change orders are non-bid changes and non-bid expenditures of dollars. And so that's usually where a lot of these contractors can make their biggest profit in those areas. So there's a high risk for uncertainty in what your final cost could be at the very end. And it really becomes a game of working with this or maybe collaborating against this contractor through the process to make sure that you get what the district is paying for throughout the entire course of the project. Could result in sometimes justifiable or even non-justifiable delays in the project. And so maybe you do get a little bit better cost up front, but if the project took 6 months longer, did we really benefit from that? I'm not trying to knock design bid build. It can be a great tool for certain applications, but we just have to be cautious of what we're walking into when we actually use that delivery method. There's another delivery method, which is really a variation of hard bid. It's called CM multi-prime. It's essentially where the district hires architect, develops plans, gets them approved by the state, district advertises for bids, but instead of awarding to a single entity, general contractor, they award multiple different subcontracts to each individual trade-specific contractor. So what it looks like is this arrangement here where there's no general contractor. The district now owns multiple different contracts with multiple different individual trade contractors. It can have some advantages and disadvantages. You can have a greater degree of cost savings, largely through avoiding your contractor markup, because he's not making a profit on this, so we benefit from that. It allows us to bid out individual pieces of work and possibly start those earlier as opposed to waiting for everything to be in a big package from the general contractor. Yes?
Just to clarify, what is the difference between a subcontractor and a trade contractor?
Yeah, essentially the same thing, just a different term for those. So a subcontractor is an entity that is second in the line of the contract. We have a direct relationship with a contractor. He then has a contract with a subcontractor. Sometimes we call them trade contractors because they're usually differentiated by the trade that they support, whether they're plumbers or carpenters or electricians, those type of things.
So just when you have this number of trade contractors, it's assuming that the district has the expertise to manage the different trades.
I'm sorry.
It's making the assumption that the district then has a contractor level of knowledge that they are managing those trade.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. If I back up a couple of slides here, typically at the bottom the district would still have to hire a construction manager. It's even more necessary if you use CM multi-prime, because essentially the district is now operating as a general contractor, and all of that coordination, both the advantages of controlling that coordination and the responsibility of controlling that coordination, now relies on the district to manage that. I'll say, and sometimes it's beneficial to tell a contractor it's his problem to coordinate when the carpenter and the plumber comes into the job. That's really on him to coordinate that. With CM multi-prime, it's now on us to coordinate that to make sure. So when I get to pros and cons with CM multi-prime, that greater owner responsibility is one of those cons, and there's a cost to that. There's a cost to that in not only staffing to make sure that you have enough people on board in order to manage that work, but also there's a cost on the backside on the administrative side. So now, rather than processing a single pay application each month for a contract, you may be processing 6, 7, 8, 10 different individual invoices each month with different contractors, and all of the resulting work that goes associated with that.
But that's where your construction manager can come in, right?
Who the construction manager would get involved, yes, and they would be managing that. But there's also the office side of the house. So construction manager, because they are an outside consultant, they have limited access to district's accounts and systems, and so you would have to have internal staff to actually process those invoices and with the county in order to get those paid.
Versus the general contractor doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly. And again, lastly, there's no single point of contact. You know, one nice thing about a general contractor is you have a single point of contact, somebody who's responsible for the whole project, and they're responsible to make those decisions to ensure the whole contract is on time and within the allowable expense. We also have I talked earlier about there are exceptions to the bid limits. Now we're going to talk a little bit about those exceptions. We talked about the formal bid, the informal bid process. When we get into design build and some of the others I'll be talking about, these are those exceptions where you don't have to go to formal bid with those bid limits that I spoke about earlier. Design build is one of those. So design build is a situation, or it's authorized per Education Code 17250. It has a minimum contract value of $1 million. So below $1 million, you cannot use design build. This is where the district develops a set of project requirements. What is it that you want to build, and how does it need to work, and how do you want it to look, and all of those kind of things. To do that, you typically hire a third-party, either architect or third-party design services to come up with what those expectations of your project are. It could be everything from a type of science labs to how big and wide the building needs to be. Whatever the district can imagine is the expectations that come out of this project. Those are all developed into these project requirements and are considered to be the minimum requirements that the district has for the project. Those requirements, and in the development of those requirements, the district also develops a set of best value criteria. This is where the Board of Education determines what criteria, other than price or possibly including price, is considered to be the best value to the district. It can be everything from artistic elements, if you're looking to maybe design a state-of-the-art performing arts center and you're really looking for architectural artistic nature of it. It can be form and function, it can be life cycle costs, it can be a lot of different factors that we determine are the best interest of the district in this particular project that we'll be focusing on in determining which design entity we will use. The district then submits proposals from design entities, which are typically a partnership of a contractor and an architectural firm that come together to not only design and build this project, and they solicit to the district their proposal based upon those best value criteria that the district has approved, or the board has approved, and then the entity is selected from there. There are some concerns about design build. Design build is a wonderful tool, but there are some issues with it. So quickly, I wanted to show you what that looks like. So again, the district has a program architect. This is someone who helps them design all those requirements. They also have a contract directly with the design build entity. And then the design build entity has their design subconsultants, which is all of the engineers and architects and everybody that work on the project, but they also own the construction side of the house as well. So all of those different functions go through the design build entity. So there are some concerns with that. So I guess I haven't gotten there yet. So I want to talk a little bit about stipulated sum. There's two different versions of design build I wanted to talk about. So one of them is what's called a stipulated sum, and those are projects that have to be over $1 million. This is really where you come to an agreement very early in the project with the design build entity. You determine what that price is even before the designs have really made it past those initial project requirements. There's limited flexibility with the design build entity after that agreement has been forged with them, and it really fixes that price very early in the process. There's a newer version that's only just a few years old that the legislature has approved, which is called progressive design build. And this allows for the district to select and go into award with a contract with a design build entity with an yet to be determined value of the project. It allows a greater collaboration between the district and the design-build entity to finalize the designs before that price is finally determined and we finalize the agreement with that design-build entity. Statute limits those to only projects that are greater than $5 million in size, but it does allow a much higher level of collaboration between the district and the contractor. I would say a little akin to what we're going to talk about in lease-leaseback, where there's some flexibility to work towards a price that both sides can agree to and be able to bring together. The pros and cons, there are pros. It allows a single point of responsibility between the design and construction team. So a lot of times what you find in projects is a disagreement between a designer and a contractor. And that creates in those beautiful things we call change orders, right? Where the designer thought one thing, but the contractor thought another thing, and that creates an ambiguity there, and it turns into delays, and it turns into costs and all those other things. With the design build, it all goes back to one entity. They're responsible for both the design and the construction. So if they can't build it the way they designed it, it's on them, right, to make it right. It allows for faster project delivery. You know, you can begin to work pretty quickly towards that development of the design and the start of that project directly with those design-build entities. Much improved collaboration between the district and the designer through the process, and it gives us a very early cost certainty with fewer change orders through the process. The cons are, once you've agreed to a price, you're releasing that design over to another entity to finalize that. If your requirements were not built in those turnover documents or those requirements documents, then it's going to be up to that contractor to determine what's the best way to do that. So if you're in a position where you're able or willing to give some of that design control over to an entity, it could be a good tool. There's definitely a higher potential for those scope gaps, right? You thought one thing, but they thought another thing, and unfortunately with this tool, they kind of have the authority to move forward in the way that they think is best, unless we go back to an amendment or a change order. There's somewhat limited transparency. The contractor and the architect own all of those agreements, so you don't necessarily see it. All you see is that lump sum. So you're not really certain how much the various different elements of the project are costing. And it's not really suitable for all projects. It's really kind of a specialty project where it really provides its best applicability to the district. So lease-leaseback, which is kind of the topic for tonight, and it's on tonight's agenda. I wanted to talk a little bit about lease-leaseback and what it is. There's a lot of misinformation about lease-leaseback. There's a lot of comments about it's not legal or that it shouldn't be used, or you've probably heard them all, but I wanted to talk a little bit about what it is and how it works and the legalities behind it. So lease-leaseback is one of those alternative delivery methods. It is authorized per Education Code 17406, right? And what it specifically says is the school district, and this is where the trouble starts, without advertising for bids, may let real property that belongs to the district if the lease requires that the leasee, which is the contractor, to construct a building or buildings for the use of for the school district. It requires the district to lease the property to the builder for a minimum of $1, so that solidifies the lease. And the lease-leaseback builder then constructs a project and leases that project back to the district for an agreed upon period of time. That's the lease-leaseback part, or the lease-back part, excuse me. So it's essentially a situation where we take a piece of land, we lease it to a builder with the express purposes of constructing a project. That builder constructs that project, and then the district leases it back from that builder for a prescribed period of time. So you may ask the question, why are we doing this, right? What's the reason for doing this? If you go way back, when districts were fairly strapped for cash, this was if you think a little bit about folks that would come in and maybe develop a housing tract, a housing community, and then over time they would sell off those houses to buyers, and then they would make their profit in time as they brought it back. This is where it originally stemmed from. The developer would bring in a high amount of new capital money into the project, build that school or that resource for the school district, and then the school district would pay it back over time to that developer. It's kind of where it started from. It's obviously changed a lot over the years, but that's the basis of where it started. So one of the reasons why we would do that, it does give the district a lot greater flexibility in how they begin this process of collaborating with the builder. They build a high level of collaboration directly with the builder. The district, again, will typically hire an architect. That architect would develop those plans and specifications and get those approved by DSA. That is a requirement. The board establishes what they consider to be the best value lease-leaseback criteria. What does the board believe is the best value for that contractor to have? And it goes beyond price. It can be the ability of them to perform, their experience, the level of staff. We're going to talk a little bit about what our recommendations are tonight. But it can be almost anything under the sun that the district feels is appropriate for this particular project. The district then solicits proposals from qualified bidders and selects the builder based upon those pre-established board criteria. Here's some of the other advantages associated with lease-leaseback is you can do this very early. There's no requirement that the plans and specifications be completed. In fact, there's no requirement that plans and specifications even be started when we select the builder for the particular project. We can base it on things such as past performance, things like their markup costs, things like their what are called general conditions costs and other factors. And then a district can negotiate what's called a pre-construction services agreement with the lease-leaseback builder. This allows your builder to work hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder with your designers to provide design support, to do things like constructability review to ensure that there aren't any gaps or misses in the plans, anything that can't be built, anything that's going to potentially create a problem, whether that means increased costs or delays in the process or other issues. It allows us to work closely together for real-life estimating. So we don't want to get to the end of a project where it's fully designed and approved to find out we can't afford it. So this allows our contractor to work closely with us to let us know what the reality of the costs of construction are through the process so that when we do get the plans approved, we can move right into construction and know that we have the funds aside and we have the money ready to be able to move that project forward. It also allows the contractor to do various different early start work, such as selective demolition, investigation work, things like identifying electrical panels, electrical pathways, sewer lines, all of those other things that tend to be little sticklers through projects and create little problems for us. So they can get out there and start really doing a lot of that pre-construction work to really ensure that the project, or as many of the potential gremlins have been identified, and we can get those out of the way. The law allows a district to negotiate a contract based on either lump sum or what we call guaranteed maximum price, or potentially a fee-based structure where it's a cost plus a certain fee. They'll do it for 4%, 5%, whatever the market fee is that the contractor would have. Those are less popular. Typically, it's a guaranteed maximum price that happens on most lease-leaseback arrangements now. This is what it looks like. Again, the district has a direct relationship with an architect. That architect then works closely with your lease-leaseback contractor through the process to ensure that we have a buildable set of plans and a buildable project. That lease-leaseback contractor then awards individual trade contractors or individual subcontracts to all the different packages, and they could be electricians and plumbers and HVAC folks and all of those things that they would control all of those individual subcontracts or trade contractors. And I apologize for the two different terms. So similar to a hard bid, other than that high level of collaboration through the process as we go forward. One thing I'll point out with the lease-leaseback, it is what we call an open book environment, which means that in the solicitation of those trade contractors and in the award of those trade contractors, the district has a high level of engagement during that process. We know exactly who they're bidding it to, and we know exactly who they're awarding it to, and that becomes a decision that the district is involved with. It can be both on best value criteria. We can establish that to ensure that we pick a subcontractor that meets the best needs of the district, or it can be simply on price, and that's something that we determine as we move forward with the project with the individual builder. So there are pros and cons. So the pro of lease-leaseback is it allows very early contractor engagement. So they're able to collaborate with the district for months and months, if not years, ahead of when the project actually starts. So they ultimately become the most familiar with that project of anyone other than the designer to ensure that they're ready to go. Better quality controls, which usually results in fewer disruptions or disputes, issues that happen on a project because again, they've been working on this process for a while. And in fact, in most cases, the subcontractors have also been working on this project for a while. They bring out electricians and plumbers to the project to make sure that they can look at it to ensure they know exactly what they're getting into when they bid on it. It minimizes those risks we talked about earlier with low bid methodologies in a much, much higher level of cost transparency because of the open book format of lease-leaseback. There are some cons. We've all heard and read about the legal challenges that have been associated with lease-leaseback. I will just make a commentary to that. I think most of those are because they were poorly administered, right? And they were poorly handled from the very, very beginning. There is a public perception about.
I had a question on that, on the
Sure.
legal challenges, because I have not heard of the legal challenges. Since this district did use the lease-leaseback for both of its last projects, did we have any legal challenges to ours?
No, when
No.
we first started looking at this, because I think the law turned in 2014 or 2015, and that's right when that was right as we were entering in the new project. So there was a robust conversation that the district took place back in 2016, 2017, when we started looking at these models again, because it was so new. We're now 10 years past that legal ruling. And so, you know, we can talk about opinions later, but it's been 10 years since that ruling went.
But there's a new legal case on the as of
On
2023 or something like that, yeah, so.
But challenging challenging a particular project or particular
method.
lease-leaseback? Okay.
Back in, right, because it was overturned in 2014 or 2015, right?
Yeah, the challenges were associated with the way that the lease-leaseback was administered by those individual districts. The at least accusation was that there was a lot of conflict of interest that was happening throughout that process. Some of these districts were not engaging with any level of competitive work with other contractors. There was zero solicitation. They literally had a contractor that they gave all the work for their entire bond program to, without any level of solicitation or competitive. I don't want to call it bidding, but it's competitive solicitation.
But this
The
doesn't
laws-
require competitive solicitation. This lease-leaseback technically doesn't require.
It doesn't, but you can put that in like an agreement.
Yeah.
One of our criteria.
Yeah, the laws as they exist now, there's been several different pieces of legislation that have passed. It now requires us to go through a solicitation process. And what we're doing tonight, which is developing what those criteria are upfront in a transparent, open, public format so that everyone knows what the expectations of this board is of those lease-leaseback builders. Those were not a requirement. As I said earlier, in 17406, it basically says without advertising for bids. So quite literally, districts were just selecting their favorite contractor and awarding them $40 million contracts. Yeah, and that's where the trouble started. And there was been lots of court cases that have went through the process from there. Again, with cons, there are the public perceptions, right? There's still some lingering public perceptions out there about lease-leaseback and whether it's legal or not. It is legal. There's been various different pieces of legislation have been passed to I'll say, shore it up so that we all now know what the rules are and how to administer it. They can be complex relationships. You know, instead of one contract, you're not talking about three. You have a lease, a lease back or a sublease where the contractor now leases it back, and now you have a pre-construction agreement. So you have at least 3 different agreements now associated with this contract, so they can be somewhat complex as you look to manage those. Yes?
As part of that legal complexity, how does it work with the construction firm having the lease over the school site and the school site still being an active school?
Yeah, and
there's insurance and there's all kinds of protections, but if you could just walk through, what is that?
Yeah, it's really no different than any other construction site, is that we make sure that we isolate any work that's happening at the school site from any school-related activity. That's just a normal process of safety. So those areas are typically zoned off or cordoned off with fencing and other ways to separate those activities. It's really more of a safety-related issue than it is
But it
necessarily.
seems like it's a liability issue because as a leaseholder, wouldn't they take on a certain level of liability over the?
There absolutely are, because in a legal standpoint, that contractor now has legal lease over that area. And yes, that exists. We look at it more of a safety-related issue to ensure that there aren't any school activities happening in an area where there's construction. And so, but yes, they kind of coexist in those same areas. There are liability issues associated with the district using any of those spaces that are under lease to a contractor unless those uses are specifically detailed out in that lease document.
I have a
Hope I
question.
answered your question.
Sorry. I have a question. How long are those leasebacks typically? What amount of time, and is that discussed and decided from the beginning?
That's a great question, because that topic is one that is bantered in court even as we speak, right? What is a leaseback? What does that mean? During when some of these court cases were going through, many districts would immediately, as soon as the project was over, pay off those leases, quote, buy them out, which is pay off all the remaining sums of money that they owed the contract and walk away, and the lease was done. There was really there was zero time where the contractor still held the lease and the district was leasing it back, from which was tried in court to ask the question of, is that really a genuine lease? And the court has opined about it, but there hasn't been any legislation that's really come about. The recommendation is that it's at least a 12-month lease. And that's usually what we go forward with our agreements, to say that there'll be a period of time, that there'll be a sum of money, there'll be an amount of money that the district pays back to the contractor over a 12-month period. It's usually a pretty small amount. It's usually in the neighborhood of about 5% of the overall contract value that we pay back to the contractor over that 12-month period. And that solidifies that lease back component.
I just had a question. Paula, we did this the last time, correct? And I still recall, and you'll recall this too, that there were a lot of disagreements with the contractor. That Jason had to get really involved and like get things moving again. Like it wasn't like fewer disputes, I would say.
I think there were fewer disputes. I think there was a couple of issues with delays due to materials not being available, and then findings on the site of asbestos, which delayed the project. So we did have to negotiate back and forth through those, and there was financial compensation to the district for those delays.
Yeah, I'll say about disputes, construction is always a bit of a dirty business, right? And there's lots of unknowns that exist in the world of construction. If anybody's ever done any work at home, you understand what I mean by that. The question is through this relationship that you have with a builder that's a partner through the process, you're avoiding a lot that maybe you never saw, right? Things that were resolved when it was just on paper or before it was bid, so that you now have a collaborative relationship with your builder as opposed to an adversarial relationship when you do with some of these other delivery methods, where, again, on a hard bid environment, the contractor who won the contract is the one who, we always joke in industry, the one that missed the most, the one that left the most out of their bid is the one who gets the bid. So now their job is to figure out ways to get that money back, right? So it turns into this adversarial relationship throughout the process. A leaseback bidder, assuming we choose the best ones, typically partner with the district to get the project done as quickly and effectively and efficiently as possible. Now, most of their costs that they're going to make on the project are already determined well up front. So there's not a lot of incentive to them to extend costs or extend time and delay the project.
I was just going to say, Jen, I think what I'm recalling from some of the disputes that previously happened was also between architect and construction management firm. It wasn't just with our construction management firm. It was kind of the whole group. Yeah.
Okay. So again, pros and cons. There's no perfect delivery method out there. What I always recommend is that we just leave all the options open. We analyze what the expectations of the district are, what the needs of those particular projects are, and use the most appropriate tool in your toolbox to be able to meet that need. It's like any craftsman, you're going to use different tools for different purposes, and that's really what this is about. And so today with lease-leaseback, just kind of moving on, we want to talk a little bit about what the next steps are. In order to be able to leverage lease-leaseback, there is some process that we'll need to go through, and it's on the agenda tonight to talk a little bit about what the criteria, the recommended criteria to the board is to adopt via resolution in tonight's agenda. Our recommendation currently is to use the lease-leaseback delivery model for the Hermosa Valley Modernization Project. And we want to establish what that selection criteria is and the scoring methodology for selecting that lease-leaseback builder tonight. And there's a board resolution on tonight's agenda. I wanted to quickly talk about what that is. In the resolution, we've recommended some pretty normal, pretty standard scoring criteria. The modernization project at Hermosa Valley is a pretty typical project, so we really want to look at the qualifications of the firm. So we assigned a 150-point value to the qualifications of the firm. This is whether that particular firm has worked on these type of projects and what their experience level and their qualifications with this specific type of work. But more importantly, is the qualifications of the key personnel of the firm. We want to make sure that we get their A-team. We want to make sure that we get the people that actually have the most refined skill set working with this type of work. So we assigned a 175-point value to the qualifications of those key personnel. It's really important in a project that's as complicated as Hermosa Valley that the contractor have an appropriate approach and a methodology for how they're going to approach that work. Modernization by its very nature is complicated, but we also want to make sure that the contractor really is bought into the project and has thought about it and has given us a good process and methodology moving forward. So we assigned, again, a 150-point value to those. Those are the 3 highest point value, except for the price, in the process. We also want to make sure that the contractor understands what the project goals and the district goals are, what we're trying to attain at that site, that they've done the work that they need to do to ensure that what they're providing to the district, they understand the district's goals and what's unique about Hermosa Beach City School District and what's specifically unique about Hermosa Valley School. So we assigned a 100-point value to that. We want to make sure that they look for local participation and community benefits to the project. So we expect them to go out to whatever local resources would be available in the community to help support the project. These are local bond dollars. These are coming from local property taxes. So we want to make sure that we reinvest as many of those dollars into our local community as possible. And we want them to show that to us. And so we've assigned a 50-point value to that in the process. And then we kind of have a catch-all, which is the overall responsiveness and the proposal quality. How well did they do and how well did they represent themselves to the panel that will be reviewing them. From there, we're actually going to be bringing them into an interview, and we'll be looking at things like what is their total price that they'll be proposing to us? What is their total value? It's 250-point value, so it is the biggest element of this evaluation. But we really want to make sure that we're getting the best value for your community. And overall, what their interview performance is. How well did they represent what they're going to do, what the project is, what their approach is, all of those other elements in the process for a total maximum point value of 1,000. This is the criteria that is embedded in the resolution that's before you. I didn't expect you to read all 300 plus pages of those documents, but this is what's embedded in there and what we're recommending as a criteria to move forward with this resolution. So I'll pause there and hold to see if there's any questions that you may have on the recommendation.
Jenna?
Or anything else that we've talked about tonight.
I'm curious, Madam President, do you want us to talk through our opinions right now just so we can fact check any assumptions we have?
I think so. Yeah.
Because the resolutions, we don't take board action till the end of the meeting, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, yes. Yes. Sorry. Sorry, my question is, knowing that there's, I'm not sure I would call it legal precedent, but there have been people that have, I don't know whether they make it their job to sue districts that go after leasebacks. We just can't afford that. You know, like that issue. If that issue was to
yeah.
arise, we just don't have that money just sitting around. Like we did that already when the
Yeah,
other school. We lost $5 million from ourselves.
Yeah, there is a firm out of San Diego that has made it a large part of their firm's business to go out and seek lease-leaseback contracts of which to sue. But know that since the legislation has been passed a few years ago, AB 2316, which established the criteria that the district would follow, since then there has been no legal lawsuit that's been brought against a contract, a lease-leaseback contract that has followed those requirements. So what we're presenting to you today and the documents we're presenting to you today follow those to a T to ensure that we're fully in compliance with those requirements. So the firm is Carlin & Associates, and Mr. Carlin has not brought a lawsuit against a firm that has followed these requirements. It seems he's moved on to some other topics now.
Maybe. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm listening to your expertise.
Questions? I don't know, just for the board's consideration on this, where I feel, one, we've done it before, but also just looking through the underneath board action where we have the resolution, right? There is a competitive process that happens up front as we're looking for the right leaseback firm to be our partner. And so like that for me is a competitive process, so that takes away any issue for me of it not being competitive, where there's a process for us to hear bids and for us to find a right partner. It's not that, you know, we're just blindly meeting up with someone. It's what one night stand of lease back here is not happening. But the other thing I really appreciate is you know, these have been going on for a while, and then additionally, like the part of the contract where we're asking for community input. You know, 10% of our process has to be done locally, right? Like there's different pieces that the contract has that I think put in place good protections for the district, but also it just puts a lot of our negotiation now as opposed to it being an ongoing negotiation. So I think, you know, the struggle is for right now on this, and that makes me feel better that we're dealing with it up front. That's my thought.
In the last bond, we did the lease back, and we had no lawsuit. We followed the AB 2316, correct? So if that's kind of our guardrail, right?
Yes.
But
That makes sense to me.
But you can go on, and if you just Google issues with leasebacks, there was something in 2023, Fresno.
I'm saying from our perspective,
I'm saying it was a very similar, I mean, I don't know if they followed the rules. I'm just saying they did have a bond, a little more money than ours.
Yeah, there's been an ongoing case that goes back and forth in the courts related to the Fresno case.
I'm saying they
Fresno
haven't
v.
been able to build their
Davis.
stuff.
And
They've been spending their money on the lawyers.
my commentary is that case has gotten so in the weeds now that it's almost laughable about what they're arguing in court now. The latest was whether or not even local bond funds can be used in the manner that they use them in Fresno. So they're beyond even the concept of lease back, and they're into proper use of funds and other things that they're talking about. So that may be what you're talking about in 2023. And I'll just say, you know, in our society, anybody can sue for anything. So is there a possibility? There always is, but there hasn't been any meaningful challenge to the rules associated that were put in place with AB 2316 since it was put in place.
So if for some reason there was a challenge, could we cancel the lease and go to a different mechanism?
You could, but unfortunately, usually those challenges, they could come at the very beginning, at the award component. But when you look at a lot of these challenges, they almost universally wait until the project is over, because that's when the biggest, quote unquote, harm has happened to the community, which ends up having bigger, more substantial work in court, which creates additional time opportunities for those legal counsels to I'm trying to be nice in how I say that. But like the Fresno case, the project was over and the school had been occupied for just over a year before the lawsuit was brought. And
Is there a statute of limitations on that?
unfortunately, no, because what they said was that the very basis of the contract was invalid, and so they wanted to what's called disgorge the contract, which meant that not only was the contract void, but that the contractor had to pay back every dollar back to the district, essentially getting a school for free. So you can imagine why people have been fighting this now
That's a win-win. Just kidding.
15 years. It sounds like a good deal. It's not.
I'm just kidding. It was a joke.
But they will typically wait till the end of the project to file lawsuits.
But that was under the old framework in which you
It
didn't
was-
have the
thank you.
competitive process that
That was under
Maggie
the old-
appropriately pointed to.
Yeah, pre-court actions and pre-AB 2316 that had happened.
No,
yes.
I feel a lot better knowing that we have the criteria and there is a competitive process
We
up
follow
front.
the
We're gonna have to get to a competitive process, whether we do design build or we do this, so this just uploads it and keeps us from doing it each and every time. But it sounds like there is some competitive type, it's not bidding, but proposal seeking from those trade contractors, right?
Yes, and so when you talk about trade contractors, there are really two mechanisms by which we can hire those folks. We can use best value, and it's really a collaboration between the district and the lease-leaseback contractor in how they secure those individual contracts. But if they do use best value, they must follow the model that the board will approve tonight. It must be the same exact selection criteria that they use to choose the subcontracts, or they're allowed by statute to just go to hard bid for those individual subcontracts. So generally speaking, you see a mixed bag. There are some subcontractors that are critical to the schedule, and you want to select the best one. Most notably are things like steel construction or others that are critical to the success of the project. Sometimes we'll use best value to select those folks to ensure we get the best contractor that'll align with our schedule. Many times, though, it's just a hard bid environment,
So since AB 2316 has been enacted and people follow that, there have been no challenges?
There's been no meaningful challenge. I don't want to say none at all, but there's been nothing,
Significant.
no meaningful challenges at all against
Got
it.
it.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Could you help explain the monetary, the financial part of this? Because I know that financial stability, the financial wherewithal, whatever builder that should be part of the criteria, but I don't understand the exact mechanism of why we wound up paying them, but do they put money up front out for things and we're gonna end up paying them back? And how is that determined of how much they can spend?
Yeah, and so there are lots of versions in that, in the whole scope of how lease-leaseback could work. In one hand, it could be the contractor provides all the money up front and we pay everything over time at the end. Those are exceedingly rare, where the contractor becomes your funding agent. Most typically, it follows a traditional construction process where every month they prove to us what their level of completion is, and we agree to what the value of that work is, and then we process a progress payment to them for the approved amount of work. We do retain a certain amount of those dollars for that lease back component. So even at the end of all the work, when the district takes over that improvement, there is still going to be a sum of money that we owe them that we then pay them back over that predetermined level of time. All of those individual criteria will be determined through negotiation working with the superintendent and presented to the board when we come back for an actual agreement with a vendor. All of those terms will be included in that. Right now, we're not approving any agreements, we're just approving the criteria.
Correct.
I just had a quick question just about, in any of these processes, because you've been in the business for 40 years, clearly, you have relationships with people and contractors and builders and people who know you. How do you in the process make sure that you're kind of impartial? How do we know, it's like just since you're our representative and you're it's just a who you know business too.
And honestly, I'll take the lead from the district. I've worked as both a part of the interview panel. First of all, it'll never be an individual, right? It's always a committee of folks that review these proposals. But I've acted as part of that committee. I've also stood down and let the committee make that determination and just been an advisory component, answer questions and respond. I'll really take your lead on that. What would you like me to help you with as we go through that process? But you're
I'm
right, I've
probably
worked
just looking at it
I've
from a
worked with
legal
almost all of them.
standpoint, like what would be the safest thing for us to do legally?
We can consult with legal counsel on that one. I mean,
We probably should do that,
I will say on a personal level, I've worked with all of them, I've had problems with all of them, and I've had successes with all of them, right? It's part of the process, right? I don't have a favorite at all. I try to remain very neutral in how I approach things.
Great. And just know it's coming from, we have some scar tissue from years past that we just want to make sure we're walking in with our eyes wide open. As open as they can be.
Just from a quick Google search, it does seem like this seems to be the method for the delivery method that seems to be the most frequently chosen across California. Is that a fair assessment?
I would say it is a highly popular delivery method because it allows a district to select a bidder based upon proven performance and not just because they came in with a real
Lowest
low number,
bid.
right?
I hate that.
It is particularly suitable to a project such as Hermosa Valley, where it is a modernization, which means that there's a whole lot of unknowns that exist in an older school site like you have there. You may notice that we have two other projects in the district, both with Vista and View, that currently tonight we're not looking at using lease-leaseback. It may not be the best solution for those projects. But when you're able to bring your contractor on early and crawl around in the attics and crawl around underneath the buildings and open up walls and really kind of identify what those gremlins that are waiting for us, it will really pay in avoiding any issues that are going to prevent us from being able to provide the best project on time to your community.
Like fewer change orders.
Fewer change orders, yeah.
That's-
Avoided change orders, right? Yeah.
Fewer to none. Okay.
Thank you, Alan.
Well, thank you. Great questions. I appreciate it. So next steps for tonight is on tonight's agenda is the resolution for the lease-leaseback criteria and the RFP. Following approval for that, we will put out a solicitation to lease-leaseback builders across the industry. We'll begin to pull a panel together, a committee together to evaluate any proposals that we receive. We'll be selecting the best value project based upon the criteria that the board approved, and we'll be bringing a lease-leaseback agreement back to the district or back to the board at a future board meeting once that process has been completed. So,
Sounds
thank
like
you very
plan.
much.
Yep, thank you. Thanks for the time and the good explanation.
Very informative. Helped me wrap my head around.
40 years in the business gets you right there. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Good job.
But I have a question for Dr. Wild. So the resolution that we're being asked for the criteria today, how is that assembled? Is there a model one that okay.
Okay. We're going to move on to superintendent report, 3-year strategic plan. Dr. Wilds.
Embarrassed to say that little run up the stairs right there just made me a little winded. That's probably not good. It's the heels. Okay, it's the heels. All right. So we are very excited tonight to bring later to the board our 3-year strategic plan. This feels like we've been talking about this since last February, so it feels like we're just kind of giving birth to this baby. But we are very excited to share our plan.
Labor pains.
Exactly. So just for anyone all the thousands of people who might be watching at home, what is a strategic plan? It's, one of my favorite quotes is, if you don't know where you're going, you might wind up someplace else, right? So it's a very clear roadmap, not just for myself and for cabinet and our team, but also for all staff to kind of see not only where we're going, but how we're going to get there, and those kind of benchmarks. And kind of helping us keep focused. Because there's so many times in education, it's that, squirrel, there's a new thing. We want to do this new thing. Well, we want to do the things that we're doing right. And so a strategic plan provides that roadmap for achieving those long-term goals. It will always have, it's rooted in the vision. It will have clear direction. We'll are allocating our resources to it, actionable steps, how that we are going to execute it, as well as time-bound measurement so that we have a cadence for reporting our progress on it. So back in 2024-25, we spent months going out, having parent, staff listening and learning tours, and really kind of hearing from the district and from our stakeholders what we're doing really well, what they wish we would do even better. And one of the questions I always ask is what does success look like? How do you measure success when we think about Hermosa? We then sent out a survey in the spring of 2025. We had more than 865 responses. They were coming in even after our first board workshop. In May, we held a board workshop to analyze the data and provide, so the board could provide us some direction. And then June and July, we also looked at statewide assessment and preliminary CASP data that's actually just been released this week. And so we'll do a presentation on that in November. We then drafted the plan. We sat down with our leadership team, had them look at it, give us lots of feedback. And then since September 15th, we had the board workshop to review and reflect. And all of those suggestions were given to staff that we tried to incorporate. It's important to note that a strategic plan is a living document. So as we start working through it, there will be changes. 6 months down the road, staff may give us feedback, and we're going to want to bring it back and take a look at that. So first and foremost, it's rooted in this vision that all students are empowered to achieve and thrive. And the mission of Hermosa Beach, that in partnership with our community, to prepare students to thrive by providing a relevant education, a safe and healthy environment, and an inclusive culture. And so these didn't change. So these are really the driving force of our 3-year goal plan. Still rooted in the same 3 goals: community, inclusion, and excellence. But what you're going to see tonight, we love this logo, so I really want to, I don't want to change the logo, but we really wanted to pull out excellence. So the blue at the bottom, we're going to pull out to the top. So for excellence, we want to increase academic rigor and achievement for all students. Rigor was a term that we heard from students, from staff, and from parents, and we heard it very, very clearly. And so our hope is that it rises out for people as they read through this plan. For inclusion, we want to foster welcoming, inclusive environments where every student feels valued and safe. Community, strengthen family, school, community relationships that support student success and well-being. So within the plan, by the way, all of this is live on our website right now, so everybody can go in and just dive through the document. But within each of those goals, we wanted to have actionable steps. So how are we going to just increase academic rigor and achievement for all students? And you're going to see some bullets, and I'm not going to read all of the bullets for everybody, but we really wanted to make sure that we focused on increasing rigor in all of the core subject areas. We also brought in under excellence, we wanted to really start looking at AI technology and use that as an enhancement for students' teaching and learning, and for teachers to be more efficient in their work. We also wanted to really examine what extracurricular activities are then supporting excellence and rigor. Inclusion, we really want to focus on pro-social student behaviors, positive behavior campus cultures. We want to very intentionally, and I want to thank the work of our equity and inclusion, we really want to go after this idea of tackling anti-hate, and you heard the student council tonight talk about our first big assembly, and that was really the focus. How can not only we identify this hate, I call it ugly talk, speech that's happening, and we wanted to tackle it. How do we do it online, and how do we teach kids how to spot it, identify it, and do something about it? We also want to reduce incidents of bullying and mistreatment, and in doing so, increase student resiliency and grit. How do we teach kids how to say, again, now in person, see it, spot it, help stop it? For our community, we wanted to increase parent and family educational opportunities. Our parents said that they wanted more opportunities to learn, not only about the curriculum, but by cyber safety, all the different ways that they can support their kids. We also heard that they wanted more opportunities for shared decision-making. not just at a district level, but they wanted it at their individual school site level. So we're excited to work on that. And then safety. Safety is a non-negotiable for us, so we really wanted to kind of focus on making sure that our students, our staff, and our campus are safe. You'll see the bond in there because that's obviously a key component of supporting our community and our IT infrastructure. What's new in the strategic plan that we haven't had previously is this idea that we have what we call SMART goals, that they are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So when we say by June of 2026, we have very specific. Our goal is to increase ELA achievement in grades 3 through 8 by X%. And so you're going to see those in the plan as well. We also wanted to make sure, as we went through them, are some of our things achievable, right? We are a small district. We do not have a robust district staff, and so are these things that we can actually do and deliver on. And so this is the document that is now up on our website. This is not the pretty version. Eileen's going to work on a pretty version that will be front-facing, that will take on road shows with the community. But after later on tonight, we're going to be asking the board to adopt this plan and direct staff to get to work. And then we will, first thing tomorrow morning, do a more in-depth unpacking with our leadership team and our teachers as well. I did want to share some of the metrics for measurement because I do believe if you don't have a target, oftentimes you can get distracted. So our expected outcomes, you're going to see it right in the document underneath all of the actions. We want to increase math, ELA, and science scores. We're in the business of teaching and learning, and that's what we want to focus on. We also want to reduce the percentage of we call SST, which is student support team referrals, that are leading to psychoeducational assessments due to in-class interventions. What we know is that very strong, rigorous Tier 1, which is the core instruction, works for 80 to 85% of students. So we want to make sure that it's actually doing that and that we're not jumping to an intervention. We don't want a Tier 2 to have to fix a Tier 1 problem. So if we strengthen Tier 1, it will do that work for us. We also want, this is part of our strategic plan survey, we want to increase the percentage of parents and guardians that strongly agree that their child has access to rigorous instruction. Typically, you won't see us say things like 10%, but we think 10% is a good goal. We want parents and students to really feel the increase in rigor. They want to see it, touch it, see it coming home. And then we also want to increase the percentage of students that strongly agree that teachers and staff go out of their way to help their students. So that number was lower than we would like it to be. By the way, if anybody wants to see the raw data, it's all on our website as well. In inclusion, we want to keep increasing that average daily attendance, 94.82%. That was in last year. We want to keep increasing it because attendance is money, but we also know that students do better when they come to school, right? Teachers are happier, students are happier, anxiety is down. We know coming to school matters. We also want to increase the sense of belonging, and so that is part of our Tri-City cities annual data. That's very important to us. We want to increase students identifying at least one trusted adult. And so what we want to do is make sure we understand from students, we're asking them the question, but are we asking them what that means to them? What does it mean to you? What do you define a trusted adult? We haven't had that conversation with them. We want to decrease incidents of mistreatment. We want to also increase the percentage of students that strongly agree or agree that they feel connected to at least that one trusted adult. Again, promoting diverse racial, ethnic, and inclusive school environments. And the last one is one that is very near and dear, I think, to all three of our hearts, and this was a lot lower than we like. But the percentage of staff who strongly agree that my school views service to students with IEPs is a shared responsibility. That one is really important, and so we're going to be coming at that full tilt. And in community, we want to increase that, we want parents to feel that we are seeking more of their input. We want them to strongly agree that they have opportunities to learn about what's happening, not only in their school, but how to help parent their child. Shout out, we'll have a recording of last night's digital citizenship. It was so good, and I recommend every parent, whether your child has a smartphone, if they have access to anything technology, I highly recommend everybody watch it. We want to actually increase attendance at family experiences. So we haven't historically taken that data, so we'd like to take that data and try to get the numbers up. We want to increase training and preparation regarding cyber and phishing attacks. 100% compliance with Prop 39, which are those bond requirements. We want continue to have clean audit findings on Measure HV, no lawsuits, and we want no cybersecurity breaches. So next steps is later on tonight, we will be recommending that the plan be adopted by the board with direction to staff. It's posted on our website. Not only is the plan posted, all of the data, including access. If you love a good deep dive in open comments, it's there for everybody to take a look at. And then we're also going to start tomorrow with the leadership team, and then with our sites, is starting to develop this HBCSD learner profile. So we use the term thrive a lot with our kids, but we want to define for them what that actually means. Then we want to communicate out to the greater Hermosa Beach community, and we will provide updates to the board no less than twice a year. So questions?
Maggie, would you like to start?
Snaps.
Snaps.
It's very thorough. It's awesome. I love the outcomes. I mean, I think those are so important. Just kudos to Dr. Wilds for the systematic way that and very thoughtful way she went about this.
Carol?
I was just going to say something similar as well. So thank you for that. It's, those of us that love data, it's good to see numbers down and dates that we hope to achieve it by. So thank you for that.
Pleasure.
Good job. SMART goals are important. I mean, it has to be achievable, and it has to be rational and logical, and so that you don't just like a pie in the heavens kind of idea. That doesn't make sense, but whatever.
Pie in the heavens.
Let's
take some pie in the heavens.
Pie in the heavens. We'll take some of that too.
But I agree with you. Pie in the heavens would be good.
Okay. Well, I like it strategic. That's really great.
I did have, what can we do to support you guys? So let us know how we can continue to support you. And I think coming by, school visits are always good. Giving feedback to, if we see something, whether it's because we have a kid in the school district or we see school
Let us
sites
know.
at other places. I think, some of us, I know Maggie and I are out in schools. Rachel, you're at a higher ed education-wise. Carol, you've got, we all have college-age kids, you have babies, so it's like, or grandbabies, I should say.
Grandbabies.
So, let's really make sure that we're observing it too with like an educator lens when we walk into those places, and we can kind of bring our other feedback to you too.
Absolutely.
Keep going.
And I think, one of the things we wanted to do, we wanted to make sure that every staff member, no matter what their role is, could see themselves in the plan, right? So that they could say, oh, that one's mine. I can work on that one. And so making it tangible. So thank you all for all of your work and coming into the board workshops and reading all of the free comments, because it meant a lot. So thank you.
Yeah, and it takes a while for people to answer that survey. I mean, everyone was like, this takes a long time. I remember seeing some of those comments.
So hopefully people see their comments in the plan. So.
Yeah, and I hope the staff does too, like that we are definitely like listening to what they're saying and hopefully giving them as much support as they need to kind of make the classroom
absolutely
the best place for them. So
oh, sorry. Yeah.
The student profile, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about operationalizing what Thrive means. Will it go through a similar process? Or we get community involvement?
Similar. So we're going to run kind of a model exercise tomorrow at the leadership meeting. And then I've got an exercise for principals to do with their staffs to start brainstorming all the things. And then that will make a good kind of basis for the work. And we'll bring students in, we'll bring some parents in, kind of a smaller group to kind of land on which ones we want. What does Thrive actually mean?
Yeah, how does it get shared with the staff or like internalized by the staff? Because obviously, like we can be up here to make, being like, this is an amazing plan.
Yeah. So you got to Yeah, you've got to run a it's basically like an unpacking protocol. I'm going to do it once with the leadership tomorrow. But like the way I think of it is like, you know, when you go to a wedding and they stack all the champagne glasses and you pour the champagne at the top and then it cascades down. It's that same kind of cascading protocol, right? Where everybody has to, you know, it's not just me, I have to pour it in, I have to pour it to my leadership team, and then giving the principals an actual, hey, here's a presentation, here's a protocol for everybody to unpack it slowly, right? Unpack the big goals, unpack the kind of sub-strategies, and then really looking at the actions and saying, okay, this is the one I see myself in, and kind of in this idea of keep coming back to it. But I also think you have to celebrate, right? Celebrating, like, even, you know, you heard one of the student council members tonight talk about activities from PLTW. PLTW is an action item right in here. So like it's really celebrating Mr. Kaplan and his like embrace. He went this summer, he got trained, and the kids are already in the modules. So I think it's just celebrating too, and kind of like lifting that up and saying, hey, I'm so proud of Mr. Kaplan in action 1.4. I think it's 1.4, really, and kind of like showing and highlighting that too.
And things like when we say like we want staff to kind of feel like every kid that has an IEP is their kid.
Yeah.
And do we have a plan for that?
Yeah.
And like, and
So it's already started. I mean, it starts by, thank you, hiring 2 principals who have special ed passions, right? So that's their lens. But they've already done, all 3 principals and all 3 sites have already done behavior. What is behavior? How do we think about behavior? We've got Martine Romero, who's our special ed TOSA, who's going out and able to coach directly into classrooms with teachers. So it's going to be a process, but I think also then celebrating the wins. I was reading Dr. G's staff newsletter, and she does shout outs at the beginning. And in a shout out, she was shouting out a kindergarten teacher who tried a new behavior support plan for a student and was successful, right? It's just that, you know, we just have to learn. You know, general education teachers were not provided any special ed training in their teacher training. I got none. Kathy, I don't know how many, you get none. So it's about giving people the training that they should have gotten in a teacher prep program.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
2 other things. I do want to shout out Beach Cities Health District for Walk to School. Thank you so much. Thank you. Later on, we're going to be hopefully adopting a contract for wellness and for staff wellness. So I want to thank you for that. And then I do want to thank Dinah. Our team had a celebration for her today at lunchtime, but we will miss you dearly. So thank you.
Yay.
You tell Torrance, don't make me come over there.
Okay, is that it, Dr. Wells?
That's it.
Okay, moving on to the first reading of the board policies and administrative regulations. I'm not sure who has that.
That's mine. So if any questions about any of the board agenda, the board policies, for the most part, all of these are just updates. Both of these come from September 2024 and September 2025.
Great, thank you. Anybody has any questions? I don't see any. All right.
Thanks for putting the updates in the Friday takeaway. That was really helpful.
Good. My pleasure.
Can I get we don't have to motion on that. All right, moving on to consent. Let's see, that's 12, so we got 12.1, 2,
I move to approve consent.
3, 4, 5. And then we have 6, 7, 8. I know, I'm looking through. 12.9, 12.10, 12.11.
I put a motion.
12.12. Thank you, Maggie. I'm just reading it. I haven't accepted your motion yet, but thank you.
Somebody want a second?
Does anyone want a second? I just wanted to hear myself talk
second.
for a second. Thank you, Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm moving on to action items. There we go. Superintendent Wilds?
Yes.
We have 13.1,
Yes.
Resolution 01-2526 in support of the United Against Hate Week.
Absolutely. So in alignment with HBCSD's goals of community partnership and equity and inclusion, United Against Hate Week is a call for local civic action to stop hate and implicit biases that are a dangerous threat to the safety and civility of our neighborhoods, cities, and towns. Since its inception, United Against Hate Week has spread to over 200+ communities, including all of Los Angeles County, and encourages communities to engage in appropriate programs and activities that include 7 days of action by people in every community to stop the hate and implicit biases that are a dangerous threat to the safety and civility of our schools and surrounding communities. Staff recommend that you adopt this resolution.
Anyone have any questions, comments?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Sorry, that was Maggie and Rachel. Yep. Moving on to 13.2, adopt the Hermosa Beach City School District's 3-year strategic plan for 2025 through 2028, and authorize the superintendent to implement the plan and report progress annually. Dr. Wilds.
Yes, absolutely. So we're bringing forward to the board's consideration the adoption of the Hermosa Beach City School District's 25 through 28 strategic plan. As shared earlier, over the past several months, our district has engaged in a comprehensive and collaborative strategic planning process. This process included input from students, families, staff, administrators, and the board through surveys, in-person meetings, and workshops. We identified the priorities, goals, and actions that will guide our work for the next 3 years, and so staff recommend that the strategic plan for Hermosa Beach City School District be adopted and authorize the superintendent and staff to get to work.
Get to work, people. Anybody have a comment, question?
I think it would be smart.
For them to get to work?
Yes.
Yeah.
Get to work.
Oh, smart. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Maggie.
Second.
Thank you, Carol. All in favor? Aye. Sorry. 12.3, resolution number 4, 2526, statement of assurance for the pupil textbook instructional material incentive program. Ms. Gluck.
California Ed Code requires school districts to ensure that each pupil has sufficient textbooks and instructional materials. As part of the pupil textbook and instructional material incentive program, districts are required to annually provide a statement of assurance to their governing board and the California Department of Education verifying compliance with these requirements. It is recommended that resolution number 42526, statement of assurance for the pupil textbook and instructional material incentive program for grades TK through 8 fiscal year 25-26 be approved.
Any questions, concerns? All in favor?
Wait.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, can I get a motion? Sorry. Can I get a motion?
Move to
I
approve.
move, oh, I second.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Maggie. Jeez. All in favor? Aye. Moving on, 13.4, collaboration agreement with Beach Cities Health District for a worksite wellness program. Ms. Gluck.
I'm really excited about this. I'm just going to start with that. But supporting staff wellness is critical to fostering positive and productive workplace. The Work Well to Live Well program will be facilitated by Beach City School District and will provide resources and opportunities that include activities, supports designed to help staff improve their overall health. The program will be led by our school counselors and site administration. It is recommended that the collaboration agreement with Beach Cities Health District for the implementation of the Work Well Live program be approved.
Anyone have any questions or concerns?
I love Beach Cities Health District.
Yeah, they're amazing.
They're so great.
What is kind of part of the 5
Smart.
the 5 essential elements that they're going to do?
Purpose, social, financial, physical, and community.
I mean, do we have like an idea of what those are going to look like yet?
Right now, what we did is we did a survey, just a baseline survey. They're taking that data, and then it will be individual for each school site. That data will be provided to schools on October 29th at a staff meeting, and we will provide a challenge for each school site based on their input and what was important to the people that work at each school site. So we're making it very tailored for our employees.
And so this was initially piloted with Beach Cities Health District in the Redondo Beach. And there were so many. I mean, there were financial wellness seminars you could attend. There were like, I'm looking at Natalie because she was our challenge leader in our department. But there were like walking Moai groups. There were lunch and learns. There were like 10-minute yogas that you could do in the morning Zooms just in your chair. There were all kinds of things, and you collected points, and then you got prizes.
I was the evaluator for the Golden Bell that Redondo Beach received off of this program, and it was really thorough, it was really great. My biggest concern that I expressed to Dr. Wilds before is that because they were like an early mover with it, they got a lot of money from Beach Cities Health District to like give out prizes, which seemed to highly incentivize people's participation. So like that was my one concern with it. But you know, the fact that we can offer something that provides this kind of level, I think we started doing it during the pandemic, and I do think it's a good program that we've been able to.
And we are very fortunate that our health insurance companies donate money to us to be able to address staff wellness. So we'll be using
great.
that money. Yeah.
I was going to say we could also,
So thank you, Cigna. Yeah.
Yeah, ask, you know, the PT, not the Ed Foundation, but the PTO.
Yep. For right now, we have enough money.
Okay, well, great. Don't ask them. Save that money for the kids.
Save it.
Amazing. Is there any way that we can partner with like Redondo and like piggyback on some of their things?
Possibly. We'll see what our staff want. So we'll see what, you know, what I like that they're doing for us in Redondo is everybody got the same. Everybody got the same thing. But different, you know, View is very different than Valley. Like they have different needs, right? You know, if you're a TK teacher and you are on for 6 hours, you have a very different set of needs than a middle school. So we'll see what our teachers want and tailor it.
Yeah, sounds fun. So can I get a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Rachel. And all in favor? Aye. Moving on to 13.5, approval of contract with Digital for Good, I Can Help for digital citizenship and online safety presentations. Ms. Montoya.
Oh, sorry, I'm going to take this one. This item seeks the board's approval and ratification of the contract with Digital for Good to provide the digital citizenship and online safety presentations to our students and families. These presentations are designed to educate and empower our community around responsible technology use, digital well-being, and online safety, aligning with the district's commitment to fostering a safe and supportive learning environment, both on and offline. We recommend your approval and ratification of this contract.
Any questions? Are these the same people that came today?
They
or
did.
Yesterday?
Yes.
What's TUP, T-U-P?
So TUPE stands for the Tobacco Use Prevention Education, right? So it's designated money, and it not only is necessarily singularly tobacco, but it can be anything related to kind of student health and kind of well-being.
I move to approve.
Thank you, Rachel.
Second.
Thank you, Maggie. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to business 13.6, resolution extending the authority of the Citizens Bond Committee to include oversight of Measure HV. Ms. Montalvo.
Great, thank you. On November 5th, 2024, the voters of the district approved Measure HV. On June 6th, bonds were issued to the district for the repair, modernization, and improvement of school facilities. The Citizens Oversight Committee has been effectively serving the district and its community by reviewing expenditures and reporting on the responsible use of the bond measure dollars for Measure S. District staff recommends extending the authority to the existing committee also to include oversight of responsibilities for Measure HV. This approach ensures uninterrupted accountability, leverages the expertise of the current members, and fulfills statutory oversight recommendations. Also, I want to mention that there are a few openings on the committee. Tomorrow morning will be posted on the website what qualifications you need to have, what positions we're looking for, and an application. Applications are due October 31st by 3 p.m. And then the board will be selecting the next 3 candidates that will serve on the committee to make it a full committee.
Carol, maybe you know somebody. Yeah.
Are there specific positions on the committee that we need, like there's stakeholder
Yes.
representation?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Let's see. My screen just locked, so.
I believe a business.
Tax, a member at large, and I can't think of it.
And believe a parent, because I believe the parent was a child of an 8th grader.
A business organization, which is a member of the Hermosa Beach Chamber, a bona fide tax file preparer, and then a parent or guardian active in the HVPTO. Those are the 3 openings. So the recommendation is that Resolution 5/2526, extending the authority of the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee to include oversight of Measure HV in addition to Measure S in accordance with Prop 39 and Ed Code 15278 be adopted.
Before we adopt that, There are just some errors in the actual paragraphs, because it refers to
We'll fix
Measure
that.
S. The first one is on, I don't know who to tell this to. Okay, so we probably should either note that in the minutes the next time that we do a modification of that. Because it's there, well, you'll see them all. June 6th, Measure S in that first paragraph.
Yep.
And then I think it's in this, would it be the one, I don't know what it's called, 1, 2.
Yep, that's my fault.
Third paragraph,
That
there's
was-
Measure S also.
This is what I get for doing your items, Paula. Sorry.
So I move to
I should not be in charge of anything business anymore.
with corrections made to the date and time of the resolution.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Rachel. All in favor? Aye. All right, moving on. To 13.7, leaseback resolution 02-2526, Ms. Montalvo.
Thank you. The lease-back procurement is a construction delivery method that Alan spoke extensively about earlier, used by school districts in California to modernize and build new educational facilities. This method of construction allows for greater collaboration between the district, contractor, architect, resulting in a more efficient project delivery, while also complying with the public contracting laws. Resolution 2-2526 establishes a standard evaluation procedure by determining best value, which Alan also referred to in his presentation. Recommendation that Resolution 2-2526 establishing the standardization selection criteria, approving the leaseback process and the competitive selection process.
Anybody have any questions?
I move to adopt or move to approve.
I second.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Carol. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to 13.8, proposal with TerraPhase Engineering for consulting services.
Thank you. The district is recommending approval of the contract with TerraPhase Engineering to provide technical consulting, coordination, and preparation of the necessary documentation to facilitate the Coastal Department permit application, the review process for the Hermosa Vista Turf project. Cost not to exceed $10,000. The recommendation is to approve TerraPhase Engineering.
Any questions? Go ahead, Rachel.
So I'm assuming the TerraPhase engineering firm has experience with the Coastal Commission and
Yes, I believe in Ellen. I believe she is a former Coastal Commission employee. Yeah, so she can help us with the application and kind of help it move through this
it just,
process.
I mean, it honestly struck me as a bit expensive. I'm like, really, we can't fill this out ourselves, but is it that complicated that we really do need consulting to help us?
Yeah, unfortunately it is. So not only does TerraPhase themselves have experience with the Coastal Commission, but we specifically reached out to the individual. Her name is Barbara Wayman, who actually was instrumental in the initial application for the school with the Coastal Commission to help the school district through that navigate through that process. And in this situation, we will be looking to approve an amendment to that original application to allow us to change the field to synthetic turf. So we've had quite a few conversations with the Coastal Commission, and now we just need to move forward with that application.
And this is a not to exceed amount. So we put a dollar amount where our goal is not to get anywhere near there.
Any other questions? Concerns? Can I get a motion? Thank you, Rachel. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Carol. All in favor? Aye. All right, moving on to board member roundtable. Any things they want to talk about?
I have a couple things. I first wanted to say thank you to HBEF. They put on a really great fall cocktail party on September 27th, and I was very thankful to be there. Lots of people, which means good things about their donation levels. So thank you to them, and thank you to Resin for hosting it at their gallery. And there's another big event coming up after that, which is the Skechers Walk on October 19th. So most of you know it's an event that's near and dear to my heart. And it is the biggest fundraiser for HBEF, which means for this district. It brought in $269,000 last year. In the last This is the 17th annual. In the last, I'm looking out there like there's all these people. I don't know why I'm doing that. But anyway, in the last 16 years, it's brought in more than $2 million to this district, which is a really big deal. So, through HBEF. And everybody should register. Everyone in their family and their dogs and their grandparents. And you laugh, but I'm not kidding. There's lots of prizes, and it is the only fundraiser where every $30 registration will get matched, usually 3 to 4 times the amount. So it's a big deal for us. If you don't have a team in the district, I have great news. I started an HBCSD Board of Education team, and there is a spot for all of you. And your dogs, and your grandparents, even though mine are not around, but you know, they might still be on there in spirit. Yes, there you go. So you can go to hbef.org and you can find the team through the register here. If you have other kids like I do in other districts that also need to register, also good news, if you use a different email address, you can register them in both places. That's all I have on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing that. I had
Nope,
nothing.
great. Go ahead, Maggie.
Okay, thanks. At our next board meeting, could we get an update on how Dibbles is doing with the rollout with the new dyslexia screener?
Talking as if you can hear me. There is an email going out to parents around 8 a.m. on Monday morning with our first notification letter.
Got it.
So that notification letter has to go now.
Early, I'm jumping the gun.
You're
That's
early.
fine. Okay.
There will be a training for staff in a few months, and then our goal is to do a February assessment. So you'll get all of that notification.
Next thing is kudos to the team for the Golden Bell Award. We got
Oh,
the
yeah,
press release out there. You know, it started with board member Stephen McCall, former board member, but everybody has picked that up and run with it. So thank you to the community, thank you to the police, thank you to City Council for everyone's support, and to Beach Cities Health District for all of their support. So way to go, team. The Gabrielino Tongva tribe is hosting a free event tomorrow night at the Hermosa Beach Museum. It's Native American History Month, so always a good time to have a special audience with one of the tribe. I think it's the tribe secretary who's coming to talk about it and their significance here in the South Bay. Question for the board, on 10/24, West Basin Harvest Fest has specifically invited a board member to participate. I can't go, but soccer. But if somebody else wants to go there, they have a lot of opportunities. It might be worthwhile thinking through how West Basin can better offer up their services.
October 24th?
It's a Saturday.
Halloween Carnival.
No, that's that Friday.
24th. Okay. Then this calendar is wrong.
Whatever the Saturday is.
Oh,
Maybe I wrote
then
it
it's
down
maybe
wrong.
20.
It's the 25th.
The 25th is a Saturday,
25th is
yeah.
Saturday.
I'm out of town, but I cannot be there.
So I think we all got an email from in there, but it seems like somebody from the board should participate. I've been in the past. They do feed you well, and you get a notebook. My last piece is I was able to attend the Georgetown McCourt School of Public Policy Certificate in Education Finance program.
Woo!
Woo! And I bombarded Susan and Jen with all of the information I received out of it, but there's some really interesting ways to think through. It flips on our head the way we think about budgeting and allocation and tying dollars to student impact in an equitable and measurable way. So I'm not quite sure the best way to bring that to the board for us to have that conversation. There's different ways to look at action items in terms of how the board receives information. There's ways that we can talk about negotiation with the union. There's all kinds of ways of thinking through how to be more equitable and impactful with dollars. So
Be a workshop?
Yep. I don't know if it's sharing it out. I mean, it'll be in some. I'm getting a lot of hours out of this program. It's ongoing for 2 hours for the next 4 weeks per week, and so it's a lot of information. But there are ideas that I would love to walk the team through to see if any of it makes sense for how we think about things. There were things I threw out to Dr. Wilds, and she was like, "Nobody's ever thought of that, right?" Like, so there's just things that are happening out there that might be helpful to the district in terms of how we do business.
Are there notes that you took that?
I have a whole workbook.
And so
But yes.
can we, is there any replication of the workbook?
Yep.
Or even just like, could you put your notes, like scan your notes into AI and like then give them to Susan and then Susan give them to us? So you don't have to write them out? I don't know, did you handwrite them?
No.
You typed them?
No, I have a workbook that is scrawled with
Like,
things.
can we hire someone from
But
that
you could-
course to give us a mini seminar?
I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of things we could do. I mean, part of it is there's probably like 8 things that I would love to share with the board out of this. And so I just don't know if it's at our next board workshop, if I take an hour of people's time, or if it's.
Is there anything we could read ahead of time? And then we
Yes.
could come,
Yeah.
like, could you take your 8 favorite pages and screen grab them and send them to Susan? And then we could then
Mhm.
pontificate about them?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I just think there's opportunities for us to think through things as a board. It was
Mhm.
exciting. It is exciting.
Yes, I think a worksheet, oftentimes, a workshop, oftentimes anything having to do with negotiations has to happen in closed session, so maybe we pull off that piece and,
Right.
but the rest of it,
More of
maybe-
it's strategies than anything else.
Totally.
But, yeah.
I like your excitement.
Ed Finance.
Ugh, my favorite thing.
Hmm.
I know.
Thank you for going to that and sharing that, doing double duty for that.
Super fun.
Yeah. Rachel, did you have anything else you wanted to add? Okay, and just everyone, before we meet again, the Halloween Carnival will have happened, so if people can find their way there, that would probably be very helpful and enjoyable by all. Any other things? Maggie looks like she has one other thing she wanted to say.
I was going to move to
Okay,
close.
go ahead, Maggie.
Make a motion to close.
Yep. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Rachel. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.